you don't even know where to begin.
You don't.
So
You don't.
I'm gonna have Diane start because she has the history. She knows a lot about the stuff that's going on in the city. So take it away, Di.
So first, I always have to take my hat off when I start first to say good morning and to Pastor Wall. We can't ever have enough medium to communicate with community. I say in a timely fashion. So I want to thank you for offering this opportunity on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, to the radio station and all of the different networks that Praise Radio is on. So first, I want to say thank you. Second, Priscilla, you're right. It seems like every time we come, it's because something's going on. And I when we talked, you offered extend the invitation because on Saturday, and we're going to keep talking about Saturday, on Saturday, June 10th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. At the Roxbury Community College Media Arts Center, we're going to be gathering with the Black Local Organizing Committee. There's a whole host of organizations. I'll pull up the flyer actually while I'm talking so I'll remember the Nubian Square, Development Corporation, Contemporations, Boston Jobs Coalition, Grayson Trotter Neighborhood Association, all coming together with the theme. And we're going to be hearing this theme because I know that BLOC, which is the short for the Black Local Organizing Committee, has been meeting and working and strategizing on how to do these sessions on a regular basis. But we're having a town hall forum on one of the most critical issues facing us today. And that is how to realize, like really see wealth creation, access and wealth creation in our community. They say Roxbury is rich with history. It is. But it also has some opportunities here that we don't always access. And so huge discussion around this issue of how do we build wealth? How do we access wealth? Are there things we can do? Why is this important? Because the census tells us it's important. The redistricting battle that's going on right now, we thought we were done, tells us that's important, right? It's easy to say, oh, Black folks are leaving Boston. What is not always said is that they're leaving with a gun at their head. They're leaving with people pushing them back. They're leaving, at their back pushing, saying, get out. And there are a whole lot of reasons why that can happen. And it is our contention that it doesn't have to be that way. That, the billionaire, business mogul, Warren Buffett said that there are generally two ways for people to create wealth. We talk about it all the time. People heard the mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu's State of the City address in January, her priorities for the year. She said community engagement, climate resiliency, and racial justice and wealth creation were her third one, priority, wealth creation. And so why? Because if we don't figure out a way to do this, which is why our other guest is here, we'll talk about some of the things that are going on. If we don't figure out a way to capture, to create, claim the wealth around us, in 10 years when we do the census again, there won't be very many Black people left here because we're being forced out, priced out, kicked out, dying out, right? If you read the article this week about Stop and Shop, now we have a new phrase, breadlining out. We can't afford to buy food, right? And so here we are. So today, People Power with Priscilla has created the space for us to talk about that, for wealth creation. And we really want to start with two areas where there are hundreds of millions of dollars in the grasp, I say, and not in the hands, in the grasp of Black people, that if we put appropriate pressure on, we challenge, we push back, change one critical policy in this city that we could realize. And so that's what we're here today. We're going to talk about the value of ownership and land, right? Because they ain't making any more of it. And much of the land in Boston, particularly when you're talking about Roxbury, you see vacant lots all over the place. One of the things you also heard the mayor say at her State of the City in January is that she's going to give away the rest of the land in Roxbury to developers. That like sirens should be going off, right? With good ideas. Give it away. Bottom line, most of the vacant land in Roxbury and Dorchester is vacant because it was stolen from Black people by the city of Boston long before Michelle whoever came. So I'm not putting that on her. But in the 60s and 70s and all different ideas, urban renewal, we call it Negro removal. Some people will say that that's what it really was. But we're here and our numbers are shrinking. It's going to cost us politically too if we don't figure this out. So let's get to it. Two things. One, I'm really hoping that the listeners will go online or pick up a hard copy of the Bay State Banner this week. You will see the op-ed that they printed actually yesterday. She got it. I hear you. Thank you. An op-ed that was printed that I wrote calling Unlocking Black Boston's Wealth, right? That's it. And one of the best ways to do it. Warren Buffett said 2 ways to create wealth. One, through inheritance, right? The family leaves you all that money and all that land and all that property. The other is through you buying or acquiring real estate and using that real estate and trading and managing that real estate in a way that it creates money for you to use, to pass on to your children. And those are the 2 things. Here's the bottom line. Most of us, then listening ear, ain't waiting for that relative to pass and leave us the millions of dollars because they don't have it. They didn't have it. So then we go to the other one. That is what? It's real estate, home ownership. And we want to talk about the Roos, 2 different major activities going on in our community of Roxbury, Dorchester, and around Boston. But I say Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan because that's where Black people predominantly live. So if you are fortunate enough to have secured a home that was purchased for you by the city, through the assistance of the city of Boston, the city of Boston's home buyer program has been around for a while. There are many people probably listening who were able to get their house through city of Boston's home buyer program while Flynn or Menino or Marty, Flynn, Menino, Walsh, Janey, or even Wu have been mayor. We're really going to focus on how this works, the City of Boston Home Buyers Program. And we're going to talk about another neighbor. Everybody know Nubian Square. Then you know that beautiful new Social Security building right in the center of Malcolm S. Boulevard in Nubian Square. There's a business in that building. They call themselves now Blue Hub. Used to be Sun Mortgage, used to be Boston Community Capital. I said when I testified, any company that got to change its name 3 times in 10 years, something is up, right? So Boston Community Capital, well, that's now Blue Hub. Why? You probably are aware of them, even if you don't know their name, because they have been the subject some pretty intense press coverage on TV, and the Boston Globe has done a story on them, I think probably once a year, every year for the last 10 years, about how they come bearing gifts of support and end up leaving with the biggest gift of all, and that's your house. Thousands, Black and Latino homeowners. City of Boston Homeowners Program, target Black and Latino homeowners. So I'm going to tell you about that one really quick, because I really hope that people could call in. And Priscilla, you can say the number now so people can get ready, and if they're calling in, they can do so. You're muted.
They have to come in through Zoom. So if anybody is interested in coming in and getting involved in the conversation, they can call 617-282-0685. And Pastor will give them the Zoom link to come in and join the conversation.
Perfect. I wanted to say that. Thank you. So here, let's start with the City of Boston home buyer program. So I happen to be on a Zoom, that's become our life now. We're on Zooms and Zooms and Zooms, and heard a young lady tell a story about being a homeowner. And it was during COVID, she had attempted to get permission. This is what she was saying on the call, on the Zoom. She tried to get permission from the city to leave her home that she owned to go and stay with her daughter during COVID so that she didn't have to stay by herself, and that they told her no. I was intrigued. I actually put an email in, pasted in the chat. Can you please give me your contact information? Because I didn't understand that. That phone call led to this op-ed piece that you're reading about the practice, the policy for the people who have secured that status of homeownership through the City of Boston's homeownership program. You have to, they require you to be owner occupant. Start with the premise, Priscilla. I know you and I have talked about this. I support the notion of deed restrictions. If you get your home through support and assistance for the city or the state, I get it. I get it. You shouldn't be able to buy a house this year and flip it and collect the money and move on.
Right.
I get it. I think that those deed restrictions ought to be reasonable amount of time. Interesting point. The city of Detroit is using their COVID, the ARPA money, to build housing, and they have a 3-year deed restriction. The city of Boston had a program that had a 10-year deed restriction. In fact, many of the homeowners that I have met, there are 3,000 of them in the city of Boston. About 2,000 of them are in Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. So that's us, right? But they, and when I say assistance, they might have gotten a $10,000 down payment. They may have gotten a reduced mortgage, a reduced, purchase fee, assistance with the
costs,
closing, different things that you could do for assistance. And so I say that to say, so people don't misquote me. I support deed restrictions when you get your home in that way. I think that they have to be reasonable. The reason people purchase a home, and Nardella Thomas, who is here too, she's going to talk to you about the second crime and travesty, will tell you, is that they feel ownership, something to leave to their children, something to build equity, something, it's the American dream. You don't know, you might want to send your kids to college, take out some equity, repair, build up your house, take a vacation, buy a new house, buy a boat, whatever, it's yours, right? That's what home ownership means in this country, except if you buy your home through the support of the city of Boston. It is so amazing what I have learned in the last several months. And this impacts thousands of Black and Latino people. They cannot be away from their house for long periods of time, say a year, 6 months, 3 months, unless they get permission from the mayor's office of housing. Can you imagine a homeowner having to call downtown and ask, can I go stay with my daughter during COVID? Because I don't want to be by myself. And guess what? I'm sitting in a room with about 30, 40 of the homeowners, and they're all telling the director of the mayor's office of housing that they called during COVID, and they were told no. So they stayed, many of them seniors stayed by themselves during COVID, right here in Roxbury.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, what do you mean permission?
Yeah.
And the director of housing says to these group of homeowners, you should have called me. And now my eyes pop open like they did just now, right? You should have called, wait, what? What? They cannot sell the house. 30 years is the deed restriction the city is imposing on them. And how did many of these people find out? Because I've reviewed closing documents, no mention of 30 years in their closing documents. They got binders after the fact. The city is the city's attorney, remember, is the one who files the deed, right? The deed they filed has a restriction, but they never told the homeowners. How did many of them find out? Because in the last year, the city sent them all a letter saying that they want to extend the 30-year deed restrictions by 20 more years for a big whopping total of 50. Understand a 50-year deed restriction means you are a tenant. You are not a homeowner.
Yeah.
You are not a
Especially if you can't get any equity and you can't sell it if you want. I mean, it's just, it doesn't, I
Now,
don't understand why.
But Priscilla, here's the crazy thing is that the city apparently really thinks, because, you know, I couldn't believe it. So I go ask, I go to mayor's office of housing and I ask, and I get it. I was educated because in fact, it's true. They do have 30-year deed restrictions. They are trying to press an additional 20 years on to make it 50. I was told that, well, you know, it's not that they can't get any equity. If they want to get out, you know, they could probably take up to, you know, like 250,000. You got to understand, these are single homes, townhouses. If you go up Heath Street across from the Hernandez School from Broadley, all the way up on your right side, you see all those townhouses, Lawn Street, Winsley. That's what we're talking about. Those are the houses. Some of them are 2 families, right? They are probably worth close to $1 million because, you know, that's what's happening, right? That's how it's
Exactly,
working right
especially in
now.
that area.
So to say to them, you could stay 20 years and hey, you could get 200,000 and do what with it? You can't go buy another house, right? It's an insult, because this is what I was told. It's not like that's a little bit of money. And I'm being told this by people who live here, own a house. I said, so you got a deed restriction on your house? I mean, the think about this. This is the way I end in the banner article, and I'm going to move to Blue Hub. 2,000 Black and Latino homeowners. I sat in a room with them, right? There were about 40 families represented in that meeting in April. You should have heard the stories. Young Muslim couple who bought their house up there in 2001, 2002, had a 1 and 2 year old daughter. Said, "Ooh, by the time they get ready to go to college, we can take out some equity and pay for college." The woman's almost in tears. She said, "Luckily, my oldest daughter, who graduated from high school last year, 2 years ago," she said, "she's brilliant. She got a full scholarship. But my second daughter is graduating this year, and this is the time she finds out they don't have equity in their house." 19 years in, they are 19. They're about 202, 19 years. Have a senior who bought her house, 3rd floor bathrooms. She's having mobility issues. Her unit, she's got a 2-family. Her unit is on the 2nd and 3rd floor. She can't get up the stairs to the 3rd floor. She wants to sell her house. She's been there 21 years. She bought it in 2001. They told her she leaves before 30. Sorry. If you leave before 30, you get nothing.
That is such an insult.
Listen, tenants don't do that, right? Tenants don't have those restrictions. So when I first started, like you, I said, "Oh, they're like glorified tenants." And then I thought about it. I said, actually, no, there's less rights than tenants have. No. Now, I'm going to say again, I believe in deed restrictions if you get support to purchase. I think it ought to be rational. I think there are ways we can say, if you got $100,000 taken off your mortgage when you bought it, you pay the $100,000 going out the door. Right. But for me to be told, after I've owned and paid a mortgage on a house for 20 years, 25 years, 29 years, right? That, sorry, you get nothing, is absolutely sinful. That is right now the city of Boston's housing policy. Having people think that they are homeowners, they're not. If we were able to unleash, right? I call it unlocking, even a quarter of those homeowners who want to move, want to leave, want to retire, want to pay for healthcare, want to buy another house, right? How about we let them sell this one or get refinanced, take out money and buy the houses that are being the subject of gentrification right now, because our people can't afford them, because their money is locked up. Right. And then you get to Blue Hub Capital. Lord, did I get an earful, an eye opener when I learned about them. How? You know what's ironic, Priscilla? The same way. I'm on a Zoom one Saturday afternoon that District 7 Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson has this advisory
Advisory.
council. I meet on
Mhm.
Saturday. And there was a young lady named Videla, who was on. And she told a story of her house, that she had a fire in Roxbury, that she had gotten her mortgage from a refinance by Blue Hub. And she had a fire in a house. They had some insurance. They in order to access the insurance, Blue Hub told them, because we helped you save your house, we get 60% of the insurance proceeds. Or if you refinance, you want to refinance, we get 60%. How are they supposed to how are they supposed to repair the house? And that's when I learned for the first time about what Nardella's going to tell us about, the shared appreciation agreements. I hope I got that. If I don't get that right, she's going to correct it. Where you got to give them 65% of the equity in your house. If you refinance, never mind sell it, you don't even have to sell it, just refinancing, they get 60. You pay $75,000 they're charging people to help them save their house. You know, a lot of us are upside down during COVID. In fact, we lost 4% of our home ownership in Boston as a result at post-COVID. We only had 32% Black home ownership to start, 34% to start with. White folks are like almost 70% of white families own homes. We only had 34% to start with. We're at 29.6 now, from 2019 to 2022. You hear me? And sinking, gentrification, losing Black folk. And that's why we're in court right now battling over the redistricting map, because they're trying to disperse the Black folks, the dwindling Black folks and Latinos even farther, so that we have less district council seats, that we could have an opportunity to really elect the candidate of our choice. And so I met for the 7th, and this is not the first time I'm aware of Blue Hub. I remember the article they wrote when they called themselves Sun 2-3 years ago. I remember the Boston Community Capital article. The thing that I don't want to steal the thunder, because I do want Nardella can tell you the story. They had a State House hearing on a bill that Blue Hub is trying to get passed that would bar anybody from suing them.
Oh my goodness.
How you manage, and guess who testified for them? Their CEO, who makes $800,000. The woman is crying to this. Oh, if we don't get this bill passed, we won't be able to continue. How about you give back some of that money that you're earning? That'll save the company, in my opinion, for a couple of years. You know why that's so insulting?
I'm gonna take it off.
There is not a CEO.
Wow.
There is not a CEO in Greater Roxbury, Dorchester,
Wow.
Mattapan, not a hospital CEO or president, not a college CEO, I'm talking about Harvard Medical School, BU, Beth Israel Deaconess, BMC, Mass General. There's colleges, Northeastern. There's not a college president, a hospital chief that makes $800,000. The woman makes almost $1 million a year.
And this is the woman from Capitol. What did you say?
President and CEO of Blue Hub.
Blue Hub.
By
yeah.
the way, she testified and introduced herself and said their address was in Newton, Massachusetts, folks. Although all their paperwork says 10 Malcolm X Boulevard in Roxbury. That ought to tell you something. Insulting. It ought to be criminal. They have a bill right now that they're pushing all over the Commonwealth, all over in the legislature, trying to get passed, that will bar the Nardella Thomases of the world from being able to sue. So I want to turn it over to Nardella. I know it was a lot, but I wanted to get the city of Boston on, and then we're going to talk about Blue Hub. And I want folks to keep your pen out, add the numbers. 2,000 Roxbury and Dorchester Black and Latino homeowners. She's going to talk about the number of homeowners, hundreds in Boston. And think about what would happen if we were able to make sure these folks are able to matriculate, to use and manage their property the way every other homeowner can.
That's right.
Take out a loan. Boy, they'd be buying businesses. They would be investing in other properties, right? They'd
Mhm.
be able to send their kids
Bringing,
to
building
college.
wealth and putting it back into the community.
That's what it's all about. So
That's how you build your community.
Nardella, I met Nardella Thomas in person at the State House. She testified. This is what I want you to know. I've been to many, many, I'll put your guests know, I served in the Massachusetts Senate for 16 years. And in the Senate, you chair committees. And I can't tell you how many committee meetings I've chaired, how many I've attended, from 2 people to no people to 2,000 people. So many hearings, committee hearings. I have never seen a hearing. And they've talked about some emotional issues. I've never seen a hearing like the one I saw 2 weeks ago. Why? Because the testimony of the people from Boston who have lost their homes, who have threatened, who are barely hanging on, had the legislators in tears. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. Those, the men sitting up there trying to be cool, and the women, they were crying to hear the stories of what these folks have been through. Homeowners, in name only, because of the deeds that were done to them by Blue Hub. I don't know, Nardella, is that a good enough intro for you to tell people, give people a sense of what is Blue Hub and how is their practice impacting these hundreds of homeowners? The people that I met that just blew me away.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on the program. And if I could ask you to repeat the number again, because I was trying to write it down and I was on this morning texting people so that they would know. But if you could repeat that.
Yep, it's 617-282-0685.
Got it. Okay.
282-0685.
282-0685.
Yep. 282-0685, 617. Yes, please.
All right. So
they got a story to tell.
Let's just get into it. From the homeowners that have been impacted by the unfriendly neighbor that we say in Roxbury up there on 10 Malcolm X Boulevard. That program is their cash cow. Yeah. That program is nothing short of modern day sharecropping, because the homeowners came to them in their time of need, not wanting a handout, but a hand up. Everybody could fall on hard times. It happens to the best of us. But what Blue Hub Capital said is, we're going to help you reclaim your home, reclaim your dignity, and we'll buy your house back from the bank and we'll sell it back to you. You've got a brand new mortgage, affordable, and then you can start your path to creating wealth, generating wealth equity all over again. Well, at the time, with the housing market crashing, none of the banks were touching, especially Black and brown homeowners. Exactly. They just weren't. So
they don't touch them when the market's not crashing.
Right. And when you mentioned Sun Life, I remember them now.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's called Stabilizing Urban Neighborhoods. Yeah, right. That's okay.
Yeah.
But when you also are co-signed and endorsed by, the Massachusetts Attorney General, you're going to think that top, Massachusetts consumer enforcer is going to steer you in the right direction. So a lot of us went to them. I went to them. We're here to help you. This is what Blue Hub says. So you get this new mortgage from them. They take it from the original lender, renegotiate the terms. You pay a higher interest rate, almost 2/3 above the national average. Most of the homeowners have their interest rate at 6.375%. This is at a time when the interest rates were like at 4%. So we paid that because we understood there was a cost. If you want to reserve and make sure that we are not flippers, but they want to protect their interests, that's fine. They also do a 25% upcharge. Well, okay, at some point we're going to be able to refinance. We're going to be able to renegotiate that. But then come to find out, when you go to refinance, your credit is stable. It's where it can be negotiated to get a lower interest rate from a conventional bank. Then it's the new bank that wants to refinance that says, by the way, Ms. Thomas, do you realize that you have a lien on your home? No, I don't. They say, yes, you do. I said, no, I don't. They said, go back to Blue Hub and they'll tell you. And the Blue Hub says, oh, yes, well, you signed these documents. And I was like, well, what does that mean? They said, well, Ms. Thomas, when it's your turn to refinance, whatever value you have in your house, meaning my equity, we're going to take a certain percentage of that. I was like, well, what percentage is that? In my case, it was 42%. I was like, there's no way. I would never sign something like that had I known. Well, you signed the paper, but you didn't explain it to me. You didn't tell me that this was hidden in there. So I wouldn't know what the amount was until they made me get the appraisal. So I have to spend out to get the appraisal.
Right,
And now
$400 something dollars.
So I haven't touched any of my equity since then. You know, I'm saving it. Because I know whenever I pull out that investment, it's going to go back into the community. That's what the design is. And it's under my terms, which is what you want to actualize when you're building wealth and you're creating stability in the community. It is for my control, my design. That's the actualization. That's coming full circle in a place that you want to live and grow and thrive. So anyway, I have all this, I have equity. I can't use it. Because you know why? Because of the shared appreciation mortgage, which is the second mortgage. That means that the new lender is going to have to finance that additional shared appreciation. You can't do it.
That's a mess.
You can't do it. So I went to them and said, now let's see. Blue Hub gets you every turn that they can. So remember, when you go to refinance, you might have let's say $100,000 of equity. Okay. Let's say that the balance of my first mortgage is $75,000. So now I have to come up with a new mortgage at $175,000. But if I want to refinance, I can only pull out $80,000. You understand? Their Blue Hub is taking like 50%. That equity is 100,000. Blue Hub wants, let's say 60%. So they're going to get 60,000 of that.
Priscilla, can I, Nardella, tell me if I'm right, or don't tell me if I'm wrong, or either one. That policy, the way they implement it, is every time you refinance. So if she did it this year, she got to give them half. If she went back next year, she got to give them half. If she goes the year after that, they get half. You understand how crazy this is? I'm not even talking about
that's
selling.
a crime.
Well, you have to, if you can afford to get out of it, then you can get out of it. But do you know how many years it's going to take for you when you go to refinance to another bank to actually make up that loss? You really don't make up that loss. So for myself, I actually tried to negotiate with them and said, look, I've been with you for the X amount of years. You need to actually get rid of this shared appreciation because I'm not a flipper. I want to stay in the community. I said, well, at least, cut it in half, because who has that amount of income to actually absorb that shared appreciation and still be able to thrive? I said, or if you're going to do the shared appreciation, why don't you do it on the 80% of the value, which is as much as that I can refinance instead of the 100%. I said, or come back to me with something else, because it's not that, it's that you didn't explain. You did not explain these implications. We
Sure
had
did.
our backs up against the wall. And so these are what, and they came back and said, no, flat out, no, we're not negotiating anything. So I
See-
said to myself, if they did this to me, who else can they do this to?
Exactly,
And
exactly.
this is what I found out who they really were. I started communicating with homeowners, found out who they were, and the horror stories that they were telling me are unreal. Unreal. How can any homeowner thrive when Blue Hub Capital is knocking at your door when it's time to refinance or sell your home, and they want 71% of your equity?
71.
Then is-
71.
I hope there's a class action suit against these people,
It-
because this is what happened. Remember redlining? That's how my house was,
Do I
that's how
remember?
my house was born.
But Priscilla, yes, they have a suit, but understand what we're dealing with here.
Mhm,
If we weren't on your show right now,
mhm.
most of the people who are hearing this wouldn't know anything about it. What they did, meaning Blue Hub did to respond, they filed legislation and went to the State House to make this legal. And you should know that if you look on the campaign finance reports from nearly every elected official, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, the congress people, the congresswoman, the senator, the city councilor, you see the name of the president of Blue Hub. She gives a lot of, I think that's why they pay her $800,000. So she can give a lot of that away.
She's with a lot of PACs. She's with a lot
She
of
needs-
PACs. She gave, I counted the total. She's given about 16,000 of her own campaign funds to our now Governor Maura Healey. The same Attorney General, when we filed complaints,
Mhm.
turned us all away.
Nardella didn't
Okay.
finish when she said that this Blue Hub that was so reputable, they were on the list on the Attorney General's website for companies that you could go to help with your mortgage, right? Guess what? Last year, they took them off.
We wrote a
They-
letter.
They were removed from the Attorney General website. So
We
when
wrote a
you-
letter.
I
We-
sat there in the hearing room and listened to that CEO tell those legislators, we've been grilled and audited by every local, legal organization and entity, the Attorney General, and they found nothing. What she didn't tell them is that the Attorney General took Blue Hub off of the website list of companies that people can go to because of the number of complaints. This is serious, folks.
This is very serious.
They actually filed a bill to make.
Where's their office at?
When we first,
in the Social Security building, go knock. I've been there, I've knocked. I'm
Yeah.
telling you what she said when she testified. She said, my office is in Newton Center.
when
Well,
we
need to
first
find her.
went
We
and
need to go out there.
when
That's what
we
we need
and
to
that's
do.
what the homeowners have done. We are not, we are turning our victimization around
Mhm.
into education and advocacy, because the only way that we can make change is to be change makers. And that's
right.
exactly what we're doing. And so
They
we're
organized.
taking
you.
taking them on. We are taking them on, because when Blue Hub would say that our claims were baseless and without merit, they did say that the only way that they would negotiate is if Blue Hub could be on the deed for our homes. How disgusting is that? That is the most vile, disgusting thing. And you claim to be a nonprofit. You claim to be, within the community to preserve the community. And they would negotiate if we signed our homes over to them. That's who they really are. They're the wolf in
Priscilla,
sheep's clothing.
There was one woman there who lived in her house owns a home in Dorchester, who told the story that she literally retired from her job to collect her 401k, to pay them, to hire attorneys to try to save her house from Blue Hub.
Yep.
5 different attorneys she went through. She had that whole room in tears.
Yep.
The gentleman who told, I'm a deputy sheriff. I work in the court system. I work in the prison, got hurt on the job. And he and his wife got into trouble, it wasn't working, got hurt. Their mortgage went from 1,700 to, thanks to Blue Hub coming to save the day, $3,200 a month.
Oh my God.
And they're barely hanging on. And it's just, I didn't do anything wrong. He said, I worked on my wife and I, we worked. And this is what we're dealing with, sucking them dry. And they can't get out of it because he can't refinance unless he gives them 60% or 62% because of this shared. They've actually filed a bill to make it unlock. The bill says there's no, that you won't, as long as we tell you about the shared appreciation agreement, you are not entitled to any remedial damage, any monetary damage, any, there was something else they said, basically like not the equitable relief.
Mhm.
So the Senate Chair Eldridge, I remember he said, well, if you guys are doing so well, why do you need this bill?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need this bill? Because it seems to me you know, because she talked about how well they're doing. Yeah, there are a few unhappy clients, but most of this is working wonderful. Not one person came to testify to say, I love it. None. Not, oh, this worked well. None. Not one.
You
They
know
said, if
what?
you're doing so well, why don't Representative Brandy Fluker asked the question, if this is working so well for you, then why not let them have their day in court? We don't stop them from going to court, she said. And you know what? She's right. I texted the rep to say she's nuancing her answer to you, but she's right. She's not stopping people from going to court. She's saying if you do go, you don't get anything if you win.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other points too that she said is that we're not making any money. Well, one of those points is that they actually had an audit, and I will send that to you, Diane, from some of their previous investors. And I can't remember, it was like a 7-year range, but the revenue from the Sun program went from 7% to 42%.
But they're not making any
And
money.
they're not making any money.
But somehow
Elise-
she's getting paid more than $800,000. Think about that. I'm telling you, this is mind-boggling to me. There is no CEO within a 10-mile, 20-mile radius of our community that's making $1 million a year.
They're all
Well, I tell you,
millionaires
we're
up
getting
there.
hit from all sizes. Everywhere
Oh.
we look, everywhere we turn, we are being used, abused, and confused. One of the things that when I used to work at Maha, we used to make sure that we told our clients, make sure you get your own lawyer because the bank's coming with their lawyer. And if you don't have your own lawyer to help you through that process, to read that fine print, that's what they bank on. They bank on you not.
Oh, Priscilla, you're telling the story. Because, and again, folks, please, Saturday,
Yes.
June 10th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., the local organizing committee is hosting a town hall forum on unlocking Black wealth in Boston. There's
Yeah.
some things we can do. Please come, listen, hear what's happening and what you can do. I just wanted to
Okay.
say that. But
Thank you.
to say,
Thank you.
Priscilla, you are, if you had been there in that hearing room and heard the stories, you know what happens is that people from Boston testify, you know, like Somerville, Worcester testify. And guess what? They all told the same story of how they got the call that said, you know what? We didn't know we were going to be able to fit you in. But we got a time that just opened up this afternoon at 1 o'clock for your closing. We need to get here in the next 2 hours. And
Oh,
people said,
my God.
wait, I don't have an attorney. Don't worry. We got one here. No problem.
Mhm. Yeah,
How
and that's
about
how they got them.
About 3 different people told that same story.
Yeah. I remember that's how I met Joe Feaster. Joe Feaster and Brenda Fluker were the attorneys for Maha. And they would come in and talk about, you know, you got to have your own lawyer. And Joe Feaster had a thing called what he called the Maha hookup. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he gave a flat amount to represent people, but never, ever go to a close without your own attorney. It may cost a few $100, but you in the end, you're gonna be grateful.
In fact,
This is a crime.
but Priscilla, one of the
This is a
women,
crime.
Nardella, I know you watched it. So you said one of the women, the older woman, she went to see an attorney because she said that she got it wasn't feeling right. Now she's a Blue Hub client. She's got her mortgage through them, having issues with her mortgage, and she went to see an attorney. Her attorney called Blue Hub from there, and the Blue Hub attorney asked her, can you put the woman on the phone? And why are you there? You didn't need to get an attorney. There's no need for an attorney. We'll take care of you. We don't want to see you wasting your money on an attorney. They don't represent you, home buyers.
That's right. Not the bank's attorney.
Not Blue Hub's attorney.
Not Blue Hub. Pretending to be a nonprofit. Pretending.
And
they're pretenders.
Right.
And let me tell you, even at the hearing, excuse me, Diane, but even at the hearing, the homeowner that the CEO was trying to say was really happy with the program. Well, if you do a little digging, that homeowner got her mortgage in 2012. Now, she has yet to refinance. Her shared appreciation is 50%. She wasn't there. She didn't make it all the way down to Springfield to testify, to say how great that program was. Elise Cherry was the only one, that CEO was the only one. And that person that she said was so grateful, she's missed the interest rates at 3%. You know, not too long ago, they were at 3%, 5%. They're even like at 5 now, but they're definitely lower than that 6 points. She can't do it. So how good is it for her?
Right.
How good is it for her? What Blue Hub has done is they have taken the gratitude of the homeowners and it has become a yoke of servitude. A Hilton is not the hot box. And that's what they did. They brought us in one door and they'll kick you out the other. You have to pay a high price or you can't get out at all. This is really a heads up and an awareness to the community.
Blue Hub,
no.
Right at 10 Malcolm X Boulevard in the Social Security building. And you know, here's the other thing that was clear, listening to those horrible stories from the homeowners at that hearing, is that I'm thinking, well, God, the story sounds similar to what I heard from the homeowners in the room in April, when I called the Mission Hill, Roxbury, Heath Street homeowners, who said, oh yeah, they told me I didn't need an attorney. Oh, I didn't need an attorney. You should, oh, come on, we gotta get this done right away. You should, this is sad, because when you stand back far enough, you realize they running the same game on them from different offices.
Yeah.
Same line. You don't need an attorney. First red flag should go up, blazing.
Exactly.
So one of the people that I talked to in real estate told me that they don't even believe that the practice that Sun does is necessarily legal, because they get money from 5 different stops along the way. You pay the mortgage fee, you pay a brokerage fee, you pay a shared appreciation fee, you pay what do they call the $75,000 that everybody has to pay?
You pay that
Oh, the
upfront.
down
It's the
payment.
buyback. It's the buyback.
Buyback fee, right? And then like 5 different any repairs that get done. They
75% credit, not 100% credit on the repairs you do. They only give you 75%.
So they get 25% of that. Understand? Like,
who makes this up? You can't even. It's a nightmare.
And who approves this craziness?
Money talks.
Elise Cherry.
The thing is, they don't have to get approval, right? They just do it until somebody challenges them, which is really back to there's a lawsuit that some of these homeowners have filed, And I call them homeowners. I can't even call the city of Boston folks homeowners, because that's not a homeowner. You know, I talk a lot about the indicia of homeownership, right? Is power, control. There was an exchange that happened at the meeting with these homeowners from the city of Boston, assisted purchase, that where the homeowner, when the director said, "Oh, I wish you had called me." Like, if you call our office right now and say, "I want to talk to the director," and see how quickly they put you through.
You talking about Sheila Dillon? Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
what
you
she
know
said.
what, ladies?
I
hate
got duck
to
lips for
bring
her.
this to an end, but we literally got 3 minutes.
I know.
Listen, people listen, come Saturday.
Come
Just come
Saturday.
Roxbury Community College, the media building. You're gonna hear some stuff. And when you leave, you're gonna have some marching orders.
That's right. That's right.
And